Hi, friend. Welcome back to the Summit Up podcast, the podcast powered by Summit Salon Business Center. I'm your host, Blake Reid Evans. And if you are a stylist or salon owner that is really trying to focus on growing your business, but you're not quite sure what your weak points are, and you're not quite sure how to even approach the subject, and you're not even sure where to begin, this episode is going to be for you because we're going to dive into learning about an assessment for your business where you can learn about all of your different pain points. There's actually like 6 different things that you can learn about. And the person that we had to talk to about this was the architect of Salon IQ, which we're going to learn about more in a little bit. But it is the one and the only Chris Mahoney, who is the business intelligence developer for Summit Salon Business Center. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for you to join us. Actually been on the show. It's just we took the live recording from Cancun a year and a half ago and put it on the show. But now here we are with everything that started off back then, and now you've put a lot of work into this amazing business assessment. So I'm just like so stoked to have you here.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's been a year and a half since Cancun, but yeah, has changed, and so I'm super excited to get on here and talk about it and show you guys some of the cool stuff we've been working on.
Yeah, so this is the latest thing that Summit has coming out, which is Salon IQ, and it's a full business assessment. So, the first thing I always love to jump into whenever any business launches something is like, why are we launching a business assessment? Like, why can't just a human look at the data and say what's going on? Like, why launch this?
I think I think there's a few reasons, right? So I think sometimes asking for help and bringing somebody else into the equation can be a difficult thing. That involves a lot of steps, that involves a lot of vulnerability. And,
Mhm.
I think what's great about technology is we can communicate with it and not feel, scared, maybe about judgment or some of the other barriers that come into play with getting somebody else to help us out. So I think this just does a great job of low friction, low commitment, um, you know, feedback and value for the salon owner that, wouldn't be quite as effortless if we were to involve a human so early on in the process.
Yeah, and that actually, I've never even considered that like when you're entering your data into a computer, it feels way less scary than talking to a human being about it. So that in and of itself, I think like justifies why I start with this. So, as you guys were launching this, I thought that this was going to be a paid service, like maybe like a small entry to do this assessment, but it's free. So like how are we like how is this free? 'Cause that part to me is really cool, but it's also shocking.
Yeah, so I mean, I think at least from my perspective, anyways, like uh, being able to obviously deliver some value for free is something that I think is just great for the industry in general. Obviously we're running a business here and we want the opportunity to be able to earn the business of these salon owners and work with them to accomplish some of the actionable items that come out of this. But I think oftentimes, I think we're all guilty of this where we don't want to give up anything without something in return, and we fear, what might happen if we do. And I just think that for a lot of people that are not familiar with us, and even the ones that are familiar with Summit, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase, some of the things that we are experts in and we have a lot of knowledge in, and we're prepared to do that without requiring any sort of upfront commitment from the user, right? And if that
Mm.
leads into you working with us in order to implement some of this stuff, then great. If it doesn't, and you get some value out of this assessment no matter what, then that's great too. Either way, we win if it's valuable to you, whether that's today or down the road.
I think it's really powerful too because it hits six different critical areas for a salon. So I'm going to list them, and I would love for us to touch on a few of them. So it hits the money, the culture, the client, the brand, the systems, and the future. And I think that like it just touches on everything that I think is important. I think the thing that makes me the most excited, because it's my own personal favorite thing, is it even like jumps into like the culture of your salon, like in your leadership things, and how turnover happens and everything like that. So I'm really excited that that is included, because Summit famously, we're only known for caring about the numbers, but we care about people too. So I love that all of that is included.
Yeah, I mean, I think we wanted to take a holistic approach to what this um, looks like, right? And they always say it's not about the money, but it's about the money. I mean, at the end of the day, we we want to take care of the people as well, and we understand what drives great culture in a salon. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win if that drives the bottom line as well. But that's certainly a big part of the equation. So having it in there is crucial.
Yeah. And so when you're going through this, because as I was clicking through the assessment and starting to fill out some of the questions, like what does somebody do if they like don't 100% know the answer? Like, is a guesstimation okay? Like, how should someone go through this? Because some of the questions started getting like really, really, really specific, which I think is great, because I'm sure it's probably like an astrology reading, right? Like the more precise you are on your timing or your numbers, then the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
Can you give us an insight on that?
Yeah, so you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like we walk a very fine line between asking enough to be able to give you valuable results back, but not overwhelming the user. And that's, it's always a struggle. I think when it comes to responding, my recommendation is don't overthink it too much. If you have an inkling of where you fall, because most of these questions are multiple choice, then I
Hmm.
would make that selection. If you absolutely have no idea, there is an option to say, I'm not sure. And you do get scored on your business knowledge. And that's not designed to say that you don't know your business, but it is designed to identify potential gaps, because everything we're asking, we feel like is
Yeah.
valuable to know. And if you don't have a process to know it right now, then there is an opportunity to improve how you're doing it. So, guess if you're teetering between two numbers, make a decision and choose one of those numbers. If you
Yeah.
absolutely have no idea, then just say you're unsure.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And then so when it comes to some of the elements that I thought was really interesting was, once you go through all the questions, you get this really incredible analysis, and it starts spitting out data for you. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was like the percentage of being like on track for something. So can you dive into like what that means? Like if someone is, the example that we have on our website, it's like, you're 70 or 72% of the way there. Like, what does that mean exactly?
Is this for the individual sections, Blake, that you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we wanted to do is we want to kind of give you a holistic score, if you will, out of 100. How did you do overall? But then let's break it down into the individual sections so that you can clearly see if I'm a 30% in one category and a 60% in another. It's easy for you to identify where the largest gap lies and where's an area of opportunity. So that score is based off of the answers to the questions in that particular section. And then the recommendations that you're going to get correspond with that score and also with the specific answers to those questions.
Mm. And then I'm super curious, with all the data that you've seen pouring in, like, have you seen a single salon be 100% in every single category?
No, so that's actually a great
Thank goodness.
question. So, yeah. Yeah, perfect. No one's perfect. I think the highest score we've actually seen is in the 80s, the low 80s. So,
Okay.
you know, I think that's a great point. Like, don't beat yourself up. You know, if you were a straight A student, I was not, but if you were a straight A student, then, seeing a 70, seeing high 60s is going to maybe give you a heart attack. But this is the gold standard of what we teach at Summit. And, even coach led salons are not going to be scoring 100%. No one is perfect. So it's
Yeah,
really
ours
more
isn't.
of where is, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Right. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's a great question. Yeah.
yeah. So what is the data I guess benchmarked against? Because when you say it's like the gold standard of what we teach, is it like in a perfect world a salon that uses like all of the systems that are recommended get 100%, or like what would qualify somebody for 100%?
Yeah. So 100% would mean that your answers to the questions, specifically the multiple choice questions,
Hmm.
align with what we're teaching as best
Hmm.
practices in the salon. It's not always a guarantee of success. You could have great systems and it doesn't translate on the other side. And of course, there's nuances, but high level for something like this, are you deploying the specific behaviors and processes that we believe are necessary to achieve the highest level of success in your salon? And if you're doing every single one of those things, you're going to get 100%. If you're doing half of them, you're going to get 50%. So it's pretty linear when it comes to that calculation.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to what you said too, which is like the highest you've seen is in the 80s. So if we're grading on a curve, everyone we're doing just fine. So it's all good.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because I think that that's something that is so easy to get upset over, because like I would crash out at us, seeing a 70. So um so it's good. So has like I think the money part of it is very straightforward. It's what we're known for at Summit. I want us to really jump more into some of the elements of culture and like the brand and things like that. So, what were some of the things that you felt like were really necessary to include in the assessment whenever it comes to analyzing the culture?
Yeah. So I think things like, being able to I'm big on recognition. I always have been. I think
Hmm.
the ability to be able to recognize team members, based on performance, based on the things that they're doing in the salon, I think is what ultimately helps create a good culture and, reinforces the right behavior and discourages the wrong behavior in your salon. So that's a big one. Yeah. So the other one would be obviously the value alignment, right? Like we're big on values at Summit. We live by our values, and we encourage the salons we work with to live by their values. And so the question is, was that an exercise that took place and got shoved in a drawer somewheres, or are you truly living the values that you created for your salon? So I think that's another huge one when it comes to the overall culture in your salon and the cohesiveness that you're seeing across the team, right?
I love that you talk about that, because one of the biggest things that in terms of like retention that I've learned is like your values matter more and more the younger somebody is. So like, are you who you say you are? Like, if you're a place that says that we hire nice and kind people, is everybody in the company, including leadership, like nice and kind? Like, those are that's so much more important. I find that as each year goes by, that it's so important. Like, you don't get respect these days automatically. You have to earn it from your team, and so I love that you jump into it, because I think that what I'm noticing out in the world is so many salons, they define their culture in 2002 or whatever. They went, because that's when all of this stuff really started blowing up about having like a values and a mission and all of that. And they haven't really revisited it since, first of all. And then also, have they let things slide, and that can be a major culture killer. So I think that that's really, really interesting. So with that, I sometimes it's hard for salon owners to be self-aware, like it just to be truly honest. And so, do you think that when someone's going through this business assessment, do you think that they should possibly include someone else in it, maybe obviously maybe another business partner, but maybe even like a top talent, or like a maybe someone that knows them really well, to make sure that they're getting an honest assessment? Because I can very easily see some very particular personalities not being self-aware enough about particularly things like culture or maybe even their brand.
Yeah, I mean, I had never even thought about it like that, but that's a great point. I mean, I think especially where there's a score involved and we're all a little biased and we're competitive. I think it's important to have an objective opinion. So whether that's somebody on your leadership team or somebody that is influential in your salon, I do think that that's a great idea that, just to make sure that those answers are coming out as honestly as possible. Because at the end of the day, like we said before, it's not about the score, it's about the truth of what is happening and being able to do what's necessary to close some of those gaps. So if we're not, if we're not giving it the right or the truthful answers, then we're not going to get the truthful recommendations and responses back. And then it serves nothing but giving you a score that you're happy with, but it does nothing to change what's going on inside your salon walls, right?
Yeah, well, and thank you for confirming that, because I was sitting here thinking, like, I remember being like 14, filling out those like BuzzFeed kind of quizzes, and like, like I'm good at pattern recognition, so then I could see like what would lead to the answer that I want,
Yes.
and then I got the answer that I want, but there was always a part of me that was like, oh, but did I answer that truthfully? Do I know what Degrassi character I am? Like
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's one of those things that that's something that popped in my brain. I was like, oh, what if someone's like just not self-aware? Like, so it might be useful to have someone around that is your honest person in the salon, and so you can get a better answer.
Yeah.
Cool. So now let's jump into some of the things that are covered in the brand, because as we know, your brand is everything in terms of your outward facing towards guests, and actually even for potential employees as well. So what were some of the things that you felt like were necessary to include in the assessment whenever it comes to the brand side of things?
So I think when it comes to the brand, like it's ultimately just looking at like how are we um, early, you're going to notice that these are more behavioral things than anything, right? So the quality of your social posts is somewhat subjective, but the question is, are you even posting, right? Like, are you even
Mm.
doing the basic things to make sure that you at least have the chance to look good out there or have the chance to meet new people? And so that's really what we're focused on. Are you putting yourself out there? Are you making it easy for people to book with you online? Are you following up with people through email correspondence? And at what level are you doing all of these things? Because ultimately, that is, we all have an idea of how our brand looks to us, but the question is, what is it really saying to the world out there? And that's really what we try and touch on in this category to make sure that, we're at least doing those essential things to give ourselves an opportunity to look great and to meet new people.
I love that. And then in terms of the client, because I thought that it was interesting that it mentions things like, even things like consultation, rebooking, retail, and like visit frequency. Um, like, what are some of the elements that someone needs to take in consideration whenever they're filling this out? Like, what's the why behind this?
Yeah, so I think again I mean you can kind of see how one thing spills into the other. So now you've got clients in the door, you're attracting these clients. What does that experience look like for them? Is it consistent? Are we making that retail recommendation at the end of the day? Are they coming back frequently because we're doing a good job, either, recommending particular styles or rebooking that guest after the appointment? Um, I think it's just the focus here is really what are we doing with the client once we get them in the door, and are we providing an experience that's going to make them come back on a regular basis and come back for a long time.
Amazing. And then, so you go through all of this, you do your best job at getting answers, and then you get to the part where you get, of course, your score, but also you get like an analysis and then also some recommendations. Like, once you get all of this information, what do you recommend somebody to do? Because, like, I know, like, in a good example would be like in the systems, like you could get some feedback about that your color usage is crazy, out of whack, or and the verbiage is much more professional than what I'm saying, but like your color usage is out of whack, your back bar costs are sky high. Like, once you get that recommendations, like what do you recommend people to do with that? Like, do you go and start changing everything on your own? Like, what would you think would be the next steps for somebody?
Yeah, I think it depends on the person. I think if you're not comfortable or don't, like, some people know what needs to be done. Some people are going to fill this out, and it's going to be like a blinding flash of the obvious that some of the things that
Yeah.
show up there, and it's probably things they've been putting off for a long time, and they just maybe needed this assessment to tell them. Other people, they'll be completely surprised, or they'll have no idea. We The first thing we offer is a free call with a summit coach where we can talk more in depth with some of
Mm.
these specifics, and help you make a bit of a plan. At the end of the day, we can only accomplish so much in a half an hour. So if you really need some guidance in terms of how to accomplish the specific things that you're recommended, we're here for you. We're happy to help with that. Um, Other than that, I mean, I would just go into, looking for resources, like what resources are available in order to be able to, start to implement some of these things and make some small improvements. But I think most people know how to, make some small tweaks to some of these metrics. For the bigger stuff, for a more sustainable solution, that's where we're going to be able to step in and help you out, and create a long lasting solution to that problem.
Yeah, because when I was like looking through some of the examples people get, like I saw that one was like, a monthly email cadence is a solid baseline, but can be forgotten between issues. So set a goal to move to weekly updates or targeted segments to stay away without overwhelming inboxes. So, like, I thought that was really sound advice too, and like something that maybe people didn't think about. Like, maybe sending a weekly email sounds too much, but maybe I need to be targeting, clients who haven't been in the salon for 2 months, or maybe guests who consistently buy retail and we want to offer them a higher incentive to come back, like, something along those lines. Like, I feel like those are like those small little things that could really, you could change immediately.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. And just try. I mean, again, it's just about, okay, we're doing it monthly. I mean, you make a great example. We're doing it monthly. We need to do it more frequently. So let's just start baby steps. Let's try it, once every couple weeks. Let's look at particular segments. I think the key is, let do something. You know where you're at, and you know where you need to go. So let's just take even a small step towards um, that goal, right?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I thought was really cool is that it does like say what your next steps are and like what would be the highest impact to your business. Like, one of the examples was, create a written succession plan for key leaders and review it annually. Like, that probably takes like a few hours in a meeting, and like you've got that taken care of, and then you have that in place. Like, I feel like some of the stuff you could do on your own, but then I like that it does direct you to having a call because, like anything I've learned in the world of Summit, like if you really want this stuff to work, you need a coach, like because they're going to show you the
Yeah.
nuance of all the systems and processes. But I like that you can immediately jump and take action on some high impact things. And
Absolutely.
then but I love all that. So I guess my next question to you is like, how did you craft all of this? Because I've we've already gone into the why and then now the what, but like how did all of this how did all of this come together?
Do you mean from like the just kind of building it or the
Yeah, because I
specifics?
think that it's fascinating because like there's just so like truly, Chris, there's so many elements to this, like, and I know that it's an algorithm, like logically, I get that, but like, how did you craft all of that stuff together?
Yeah, so we had talked about trying to put out like a what we're calling like an industry leading assessment, especially a free one, right? I mean, this doesn't really exist in this capacity, at least to my knowledge. And so that was kind of the big audacious goal that we set forth. And then, you and I met as we talked earlier in Mexico about AI and where things were going. And I think there was a lot of hype around AI at that point and what it could do and how it would change the world. And I think we have seen some of those things come to fruition. So, I used AI to craft some of this,
Hmm.
specific tools, things that I've learned over time, things that allow me to be very productive in my role, and just did some of the heavy lifting in terms of the actual assessment itself. So as you go through it, we tried to create a enjoyable user experience, aesthetically, the flow of the questions, the transitions, all of that stuff. I had help with the recommendations and everything else that you're going to get. That comes from 30 years of summit systems and learning in the industry and everything else. So, we the AI just allowed us to, kind of package that and put a nice bow on it and deliver it to you in a way that is not a spreadsheet and that is an enjoyable experience. And so that was really the combination of those two things, Blake, that allowed us to put out something that we're very proud of.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. So how long did it take you to put this together?
So we've been working on, it's been a few months. It was a lot of hours, even with the AI. I mean, the AI certainly helps make aspects of it better, but there's a lot of tweaking and stuff that needs to be done and a lot of iterating and, just specifics, right? So honestly, front to back, it was probably 3 months of work in order to build something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, truly just, I mean, I remember hearing about it in its infancy and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. But then now hearing some of the feedback from some of my friends who have gone through it and, just seeing the data that's provided to us is like, it's impressive. And like, and the thing I want to call out is like, the people who did this first were, Summit coaches and of course Summit Salon owners. And the data that you get is just, amazing. Like, I even, when you look at some of the testimonials, like Susan Fisher, who's one of my friends, but also one of the owners of 202 Beauty Lounge in Waco, said that like she didn't realize that she was feeling so burnt out until she saw like her leadership systems weren't working. Like that's massive, and she's a really great owner and a really great, a super amazing coach. And but even she had some blind spots about like her leadership teams and all of that. So I think that's really 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 interesting.
It's awesome.
So, what other stories or feedback that you heard from people that people were kind of like delighted by, or surprised by, or shocked by?
Yeah, so not all the feedback makes it specifically to me. Like, I do see the results and things coming in. I do get messages from some of our coaches who sent this to clients that maybe they haven't seen in a little bit. things get busy, and it's instantly resulted in, okay, like we got things we need to work on because oftentimes people get busy, they put their head down, they're just kind of doing the thing, and they forget to take a step back and take inventory of like, okay, what am I actually doing? And am I working harder or burning myself out, as you said, because some of the fundamental things are not taken care of? So what I'm getting a lot of is, I sent this to a client, they filled it out. We just booked another coaching session because there's obvious things that need work here and we need to kind of revamp, right? So that makes
Mm.
me feel awesome to hear that.
Yeah, I think that part is, I think, incredible because, like, you know, this is more full transparency for our friend listening, but like, it's so many times people are like, "What is it like at your salon?" Like, it just must be the most perfect salon company ever, and it's like we are like, it is such an incredible company. We are not perfect. There are things that are missed. Like we're in the middle of like making sure that our front desk is up to date and that we're doing everything the way that we want them to be doing it, and that I think that what I really like about assessments is that it gives you, as long as you are objective in how you submit your information, you're going to get objective answers back. And I think that once you can get that kind of feedback, you can do something about it and you can take action. And like salons like ours, we're constantly revisiting things to make sure that we're up to date. When I think about things like our email cadence, immediately, like in that assessment, I was like, no, we have to change our cadence. Like we are not emailing enough. Like we don't email a ton because we don't want to overwhelm people, but in reality we need to show up probably a little bit more frequently so that our brand identity is there and we stay top of mind. Like those are the kind of things that we're able to implement and change really, really quickly, and that we probably should have been doing all this time. But I think that like stuff like that is just really really, really massive. Cool.
Absolutely.
So with all of that, where can everybody go to fill out this assessment?
Yeah, so the link is saloniq.summitsalon.com.
Cool.
They'll land right on the homepage there and they can go through it right from there.
Incredible. Yeah, because I think that I just encourage, everyone listening, like fill this out. Even if you're working with a summit coach, like go fill it out because then that can help both of you come up with a plan on what to focus on. And then if you have never checked out Summit before, but you've been like lurking onto our podcast, like if you really want to find out what we're about, like go fill that out because it'll really get you an idea of what the things that we'll focus on and things that could help your business. Cool. So with all that, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Like, thank you for your brain and your, just incredible hard work on this assessment. Because I know that this directly, in my opinion, is probably going to dramatically impact so many different businesses, and and the lives of those people that work in those businesses. So just thank you for all the hard work that you've been doing for this and for our organization.
It's my pleasure. It's always a pleasure to sit down and chat with you, and just hearing you say stuff like that, means a lot to me. And at the end of the day, like that's why we do what we do. We want to have impact. So, yeah, I really hope that this is doing it, and it sounds like it is. So I'm excited for everybody to try it.
Amazing. So, with all of that said, we always have our signature question. So, what does happiness mean to you?
Happiness. Well, right now I have a 7-month-old baby boy at home, so and a beautiful wife and a little family now. So happiness for me is just getting to spend some extra time with the two of them. Um, yeah, I love every minute of that.
Incredible. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us. And thank you, friend, for listening. If you loved this episode, just take a moment to rate and review us wherever you are listening. And if you really loved it, take a moment and share this with a friend or a colleague. But until next time.